Okay, so my presentation is titled Towards Connected Construction, and it will be more of a guide to digital transformation for construction businesses. So in the businesses, we are looking at both construction and consultancy firms, and these things can also be applied to other businesses that would want to use digital technologies to transform their operations. Um, I think you've heard a lot about artificial intelligence, I'm sure from QS Other. You've heard about project management software. So we want to see how these kinds of technologies would be helpful to a construction business, and where do you start in terms of even making choices of what is it that you are going to maybe purchase for your business or even implement in your business. So my presentation will look at, first, we'll have some working definitions for some terms that we'll be constantly using as we progress. Then I'll tell you about what connected construction is. We look at some challenges in construction, which call for the need of the connectedness, and compare traditional versus digital construction. Then I'll give you some steps or considerations in that digital transformation process, what to actually focus on, how to even evaluate software options to see that they are compatible with your current business practices. So mostly, the aim of this presentation will actually be addressing one key question. And that question is, how do firms or businesses that seek to stay globally competitive integrate digital technologies into their businesses without hurting their existing business workflows and without compromising the, the profitability of the business and without compromising the performance of the employees. So we can go on to look at first those working definitions and okay. Yeah. So I'm looking at technology itself or digital technologies that we will use in construction. You've heard about some, but the main idea of this presentation is for us to shift our focus towards looking at how we can use data to support business decisions or project decisions with the view of improving our businesses. So the first thing, before you even go to talk about digital transformation, is looking at the process or the impact that technology has into your business. So then at the point where you start to use technology, for example, where analog data is being converted to binary data or computer readable information, so you are doing more of converting and recording data. For example, if you are having maybe a physical receipt that you scan to keep as a soft copy, that will be a point where you start to talk about digitization of your business. Then as you move to the point where technology starts to have an impact on the operational efficiency of your business, that is, you are having new work processes or new workflows that are being introduced to improve the manual systems that were currently existing, we start to talk about digitalization. So we are moving from digitization to digitalization. Then for a business to say that they have achieved digital transformation, this is when technology has been helpful in the business and has impacted mostly the culture of the organization and the existing systems of the organization. So there is what we are calling a total gradual overhaul of business processes. So technology becomes part and parcel of how we transact, how we do business, how we implement our projects, how we communicate with the clients, and all that. So on connected construction, Connected in the fact that okay, we look at some of the challenges that we have in construction, but this kind of connectedness is in terms of democratizing access to information or data, for example, because what we produce in construction, the drawings, the specifications, the bill of quantities, the estimates, all that is data. And data is what we use as input to the decision-making processes. So we want the right people or the right project stakeholders to have access to that data at the right time so they can be able to make project-based decisions to move forward maybe with a specific aspect of the construction project. So connected is when that information is accessible to all people that are involved in the project. But you should notice that in as much as technology and the innovations that come, mostly we may talk about that in terms of the hardware and software systems that we can buy and install in our computers and use. There are lots of softwares that we can have access to. Or even if you were to look at a specific aspect like producing bills of quantities or quantity takeoff, for example, in quantity surveying, you can count a number of software options that are available. And you can also count a number of hardware systems that we can have in our offices to support our work. So in as much as the focus is on those technologies, but we must remind ourselves that construction projects themselves, they are delivered by people. And these people deliver these projects using there is existing workflows and processes. So there is a quantity takeoff process or there is a project management process. And that is what we want to enhance. That is what we want to support so that we empower the people who are the human resources that are working on these projects to be able to successfully deliver projects. So that as we bring in technology, we are not bringing in technology for the sake of just saying that we are using BIM or we have integrated maybe top-notch softwares in whatever aspect of the business that we are talking about. But first, we are looking at how can we empower the people, our human resources that are delivering projects, to be able to work more efficiently and have better ways of delivering these projects. So that's what connected construction is all about. So it's supported by software, of course, and hardware, which is the technology aspects that we are discussing. Then, before we can actually talk about this digital transformation, we need to look at the nature of our construction industry, because the nature of the construction industry itself is one of the things that are posing challenges in terms of adoption of technologies. And the fact that the interactions that we have in the industry are project-based. So members in a QS firm would meet their peers in maybe an engineering firm or an architecture firm when there is one project that they are working on. And when this project has been completed, they'll both go their ways, maybe meet other new project stakeholders in another new project. And that is the process. So we do not get to like sit in one office or maybe sit in a consortium where we have shared values and we move with that throughout the life of, could be the life of the business. We have new interactions that are coming in every time. That's a hard one because that comes with people using different technologies, softwares, hardwares, which may raise issues of incompatibility. And then there's fragmentation, of course, based on the trades or even the professions that we belong to, or aspects of even the regulators that we have. We were to look at the architecture and QS profession, you find there's a different regulator for them. There's a different regulator for even the engineering profession and all others. Look at the companies internally, the state of, or the current, the state of how most businesses operate is you have departments or you have an office team and a site team. Maybe you have a project management department and a finance department. And the way they work is every other person is also using technologies that are made specifically for the work that they are trying to do. So if you are doing finance, you have software for finance. If you are doing quantity surveying, there is software for quantity surveying. So that starts to have challenges, because how then do we make sure that these technologies are talking to each other? So those compartmentalizations or bespoke tech implementations within the departments are also challenges. So we should look at the transformation with the view of the challenges that we have, or the nature of the industry that is helping or that is posing the challenges that we are trying to work against. Okay, so digital construction, as I introduced it, is about the use of tech tools or digital technologies to help project stakeholders to improve the project delivery process. And as we said, because the focus is access to data and access to information to support business decision making, that if we can get a one single information database, a place where we store information, like you had seen, I think I've seen in the previous presentation by Breda, the Econex, which is more of common data environment, if you were to say, where there is more of a repository for project information. So that's something that is helping us to make information accessible to all the people in the industry. So these technologies could be simple things like when you use email, electronic mail, or when you use things like web-based document repositories or computer-aided design technologies, virtual design and construction technologies, building information, modeling technologies, project management software, or the artificial intelligence that we have just seen. But with the digital, the idea is not for us to say that we are working in a digital environment. The idea is for us to, as we said, democratize access to information. So it's more of bringing people together to be able to collaborate on the project. So it's more of a cultural shift towards integration of project parties or project teams in a way that they can be able to share information with all stakeholders that are involved in the project. So that's the main idea of digital construction. Okay, so digital transformation, we should, or how do we start then to start implementing or start transforming our businesses digitally? These would be the questions. When do you decide that it is time for your business to adopt digital transformation, a digital transformation technology strategy, or what would be the specific steps that you are supposed to take? And we also want to answer the question, how do you pick one technology solution and not the other solution? So starting with the steps. So this would be the steps that you are supposed to take in terms of deciding to implement digital transformation in your business. So the first thing would be looking at your existing business. And the idea here is to audit your workflows, your processes, your productivity and profitability, because these are important aspects of the business. You want your business to be profitable, and this profitability would come from you having productive workers and having business workflows that support that. So if you find that your existing business has areas that needs to be improved, then you can proceed to start asking yourself, where do you want to be in the future? Because this digital transformation is more of a long-term journey. It's more of a long-term thing that you are doing. You're not waking up tomorrow and replacing all the systems in your business in a single day. No, it is a long-term strategy that you are going to adopt. So you'll ask yourself, if you are maybe the leader in the company, where do you want to be in the future? Then you will identify where you want to be in the future. For example, maybe you've been using more of, I would say, semi-automated tools, and you want to go to more connected construction aspects. Let's say you want to move from not using BIM, for example, to using BIM or aspects of software for maybe scheduling and all that. Yeah, to better aspects that will improve your productivity. So the question should be, will technology help you reach where you want to be? And there can be a lot of answers to that question. So it could be yes, that technology will help you to reach that point. If you think so, then that means you can proceed to the next stage of auditing whatever needs to be improved. Or it could be maybe you're not sure whether it will help you reach that point or not. Or sometimes it could be no. You are very sure that whatever challenges that you have identified in your business, the solution is not to implement technology. So you do not have to pick any technology solutions to bring into your business because that will not help. The idea is you look at the problems that you have and then audit to see what would be the possible solutions to your business. Okay, so if you think that tech will help you reach the point where you want to reach, then your next step as a business would be to look at the operations of the business and try to see whether there are any operational changes that can be made and whose impact would be to improve the performance of your business. If there are those operational changes, then evaluate to see how digital use or use of digital technologies are going to support those operational changes. I'll give an example of quantity surveying, for example. If you are doing manual takeoff together with maybe taking off from PDFs, on-screen PDF takeoff, you might maybe, for example, want to change from that to using spreadsheets and PDFs to maybe using BIM models where you are able to extract information that has been put there by the designers or part of the information that you may also contribute to the model to extract building quantities and be able to prepare maybe cost estimates from that. That will be an operational change from semi-automated ways of doing the takeoff or the pre-contract aspect of the QS to a more connected way of you're able to get information from other stakeholders in one model, which would be like our single database where we are sourcing information to support your business. So that would mean then you might need to implement some of these BIM solutions. Then you move to your next stage after looking at these operational changes is you would start to ask yourself, now if you are to implement these operational changes, because they will come in with some cost, do you have the capacity to be able to implement these changes? Because if for example, you are required to train the staff, that may have a cost impact on the business. So do you have the finances, the financial capacity? Do you have the hardware and software required to support this transition? Are your staff skilled in a way that they can be able to use possibly maybe the new tech tools or digital tools that you are trying to bring into the business? Yeah. So then you could identify, for example, maybe it's a new thing that you are bringing to the business and find that you could be having one or two or none in your company who knows how to use these maybe softwares. So what do you do? Do you bring in a whole new team that knows how to use the new softwares and fire the existing ones? That would be a tough one. But I would recommend that you do what I am calling here more of capacity building, so internal capacity building, so where you help reskill and upskill the in-house teams. Because those, as we started, we said we want to empower the people that are delivering projects. So we want to empower the people that are delivering projects. We want to make it easy for them to be able to communicate, easy for them to produce the information that is required for someone to make decisions on site, easy for them to produce information that maybe would advise the client on whether to pick a project, or pick that project or another project, or invest in this business or in another business. So focus on building internal capacity with the existing teams that you have in the business. And in this case, you might want to start hiring or even or we know that, of course, people come and leave. So you could have it in your long-term strategy of talent acquisition that if, for example, you are bringing in a new person to the business or to the company, that the aspect of technology will be something that you are looking at so that the new people that will be hired into the business will come in when they actually know how to use the systems and softwares and tools that you have brought into the business. So that would be like a long-term strategic talent acquisition aspect of it. So these ones, when they come, they'll be the people that are driving change internally. They'll be the people that, of course, will help the internal teams to see that these things are doable, and we have a person who knows how to maybe work with a specific tool, so they can help to train the others that are already employed in the business. And then you see that change starts to be driven, to be influenced internally. And over time, of course, this would take some time. Then the skills may be transferred to other employees in the business, and we'll have gotten what I'm calling an implementation champion for the business, who will be the person that is helping others understand how to use these tools and optimize even the ways, or even develop templates and better ways of working to help the internal teams to build capacity in terms of the usage of these digital tools. So, and when you have done that, for example, let's say you are bringing change in terms of the digital tools in one business, could be running one or more than one business, or you have started to bring change in one department in the company. So you need to, after some time, evaluate and see what has been the impact of these digital tools on this one specific department that we are doing sort of an experimental process before we roll out to the whole company. Has it been a positive impact? Do they need more time maybe for you to be able to make a decision? So those kinds of an evaluation, so that at the end, if we are satisfied that, of course, these technologies that we are bringing into the business, they are helping us towards the goals. You remember at the start, we had evaluated ourselves, and we had agreed there was a point, there's a point where we want to reach, and we are moving from one point to another point. If they are helping us in terms of progression towards reaching these goals that we had set, then we can start to do a rollout to the other departments in the company. So as a progressive rollout to the other departments in the company. And that will help, so that we've done like a mini trial in one department. We've seen that this works, and we want that positive impact to be amplified to the whole of the business. So that's important. And in this process, as you do a company-wide implementation, of course, remembering that it is the human resource that is the most important aspect in this case, that all employees, all staff members, all partners in the projects or partners in the business, because the impact of adoption of these tools will not just be on the employees that we have in our companies, or staff members that we have in our businesses, or even our co-workers that we have in the business. It will go on to even people that are financing the business, or people that are financing projects, other people from other businesses that we are collaborating with in our construction projects, even to a point where it can also have an impact on the regulators themselves because of the way we work. So the idea is to support all partners in that transformation process, and let this process be a gradual process, not a single day overhaul. We are implementing sort of, this is a change gradually, a day at a time, and encouraging members to keep on having these incremental improvements in terms of how they work. And that will help, so that we do not meet a lot of resistance in terms of adopting new ways of working, or even digitizing our workflows and processes. It's an important way of trying to limit the challenges of resistance that we might meet with the people that we are working in. So as we said, the investment should be more in people as we invest in technology tools, so that we don't pay millions of subscriptions for a new software that we are bringing in, but we are not paying our employees well. They could be having financial challenges, and It will look like an added difficulty in the way they work, that they are required to learn new software, but they are still facing other challenges that are impacting their productivity in the business. So the investment should be, the more we invest in these tech tools, the more we invest in the processes of working and improving the workflows, that we also invest in making our people better, in supporting them in terms of their professional development, and also in supporting them in terms of their personal development, because that's important. The people that we work with, if they improve, then collectively together, there is an improvement within the business, and we can see that starting to come out as an improvement in the overall company, not one person. Okay, I'll proceed to look at things that we should focus on. As much as we or as we follow these steps that we discussed, what should we be actually focusing on as we audit business workflows, as we bring in operational changes to the business, or as we even do company-wide implementation of these business processes that we are trying to introduce? What are the things that we should focus on or emphasize on? One of the things is, as you do this work, the idea is to create workflows that promote collaboration and teamwork, because we work better, or even when you look at the nature of the projects themselves, it is more of a teamwork. Of course, success by one person and the success by other persons, all those successes brought together to bring success for the whole project. So it's more of people working and supporting each other. So the idea is, as I produce information, say, for example, there's an architect working in the project. As this architect produces drawings, the architect should produce those drawings with the idea in mind that this is more of data that he is producing, and there's another person who will rely on this data to make decisions on what should, for example, be done on site, where to place the walls, how high should maybe, for example, a wall be constructed. Those are decisions that are drawn from the use of data that was contained in those drawings. So the idea is for us to have in mind the information needs of the other people that we are working with, so that as we create that information, and we have that aspect of being able to share information using these tools, then we are creating the right information and sharing that right information to be accessed by everyone in the project. So it's more of making, as I'm saying, the right data or the right information accessible to the right people at the right time, so that we support them in making decisions in terms of what should either be done on site, or what is the cost of a component, such things. Okay, and I'm talking also about emphasis on transparency in information exchange. This transparency would come, for example, let's look at first, if I were to be in a disconnected team where we are working without someone being able to see the progress that we are making. For example, I'm working in a QS firm in an office, and I require information possibly from the engineers and the architects for me to finalize on tender documentation or tender documents that I am producing. And maybe, for example, I need to give like a date when these documents will be available. I also need to understand what is the progress that these other parties have made, because I require their information to be an input into my process. So can we be able to see the progress that one person has made, for example, so that we can base our decisions on the progress of that person if it is required? Or if we have a team on site and they require information for them to make decisions on site, are they able to see progress that we have made? Maybe, for example, if we have a head office team that is trying to coordinate with the RFIs for information to be provided to project teams and all that. Yeah, so that's the transparency that I am talking about. We can audit the progress that the other team member has made. And we can also audit in a way of, we can look at changes that have been made, who is responsible for making these changes, so that then that flow of information is well coordinated. Okay, we've continued with the areas that we should focus on. And one of the things here is, I'm saying that we should avoid chasing technology trends. I think we've seen when there are new innovations or possibly better technology comes in. I think I've always seen that technology keeps on getting better and getting better. And when something new has been introduced, there's a lot of marketing hype. This is the best way of doing things, that if you're not using this, you are missing out and all that. So you should not be driven by that kind of a hype where maybe, for example, someone would say, every business that is making good money right now, for example, in construction, that's not, of course, the statement I am making is not factual information, because I have not made research on it. But I'm saying, for example, let's say if a business that, if you could hear of a hype saying, if you're using BIM, you are the only businesses that are making more profits in construction. Or for example, a hype about the only businesses that are more profitable right now are the ones that are putting artificial intelligence at the forefront of everything that they are doing. Of course, it's a good way of marketing, but then I think the kind of an implementation that would work in a specific business is not the same as what would work in another business. You could all be running a construction business or an engineering firm or a QS firm, but then the ways or the technologies that have worked for me may actually not work for you. You could be running the same business, but maybe your workflows are different. So the idea is we should not be chasing to adopt technologies because we want to say that we have the latest technologies, maybe softwares that have been released in the market. So we are up with the trends. The idea is that we should first look at the needs of our businesses and justify the business value first before we even start to evaluate software options or even to think of whether to bring in software for automating quantity takeoff or even for helping us to monitor construction sites while we are in the office. Yeah, the first thing should be evaluate the business value. If that can be justified, then we can go on and make a purchase and adopt that technology in our businesses. Yeah. The other thing would be, as I said, looking at the business's pain points and fix those pain points. Pain points are like the problems that you have or the challenges that you have. Are there inefficiencies, possibly maybe in sharing information? Do you want, could be better ways of being able to monitor or coordinate site teams with the office teams? Those would be like the challenges that you are facing, so that the solutions that you would bring are the ones that are going to help you solve those problems. So that's to say that if you do not have problems, then you don't need solutions. So you don't buy software or even start training people on more of, you are speculating maybe in the future these things might be needed. Of course, if you have reliable data on those aspects, you could start a long-term strategy of reskilling your employees, but then don't bring a solution if you do not have a problem. The idea should be you want to fix the pain points or the challenges that you are experiencing in the business. And the other focus should be in terms of thinking long-term. And this long-term would be so that we know that if you bring anything new, there'll be some sort of a learning curve. There's time when the employees or your business partners will take in a learning to use these new solutions that you have brought into the business, or transferring information from the old systems to the new systems. Sometimes maybe someone is faced with a very strict deadline, And because they've not mastered how to use these new tools, they're able to even work way faster with the older tools. So you should be flexible in a way that if someone can still work in the older tools as they prepare to migrate to the new systems, we are patient with such kind of people, and we understand the circumstances that surround those types of decisions. That we are not too hard on the people themselves, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to help. We are trying to help um, the human resource, the people themselves, to be better at managing projects, because as we said, the emphasis should be on the people. Then technology is coming in to support the work that is being done by the people. And also to allow, for example, room for people to be able to experiment with new tools, experiment with new ways of doing things, experiment with, could be various software options. So that before you, even for example, start to purchase software, maybe they'll add trials of different software options, because the people themselves who are actually working on those tasks, they are the ones that understand what would be the best solution to help them improve their work. So if you can allow room for experimentation, that would be a good way of trying to find out what is the best fit for your business. Away from the things that we should focus on, sometimes you get faced with the challenge of, yeah, as we said, there are various hardware options that are there, although in terms of choosing hardware to have in the office or in the business, that might be dictated by the type of software that you want to run, because there would be compatibility issues or specifications that for hardware that you need to have so that you can run certain type of software. For example, it could be BIM ordering software like ArchiCAD or Revit, or it could be Costex for your cost management work. So how do you like pick one tech solution and not the other one? What factors do you consider in this case? That's what I'm going to talk about right now. And the first thing would be your business needs, as we say, that is the very first, and it's a paramount factor to consider, because you want to bring in software that is useful to the business. Is first useful to the business. It is coming to help you improve your work, not coming in to be a stumbling block, for example, for when it possibly could become hard for maybe people to learn or all that. So how useful is this software in doing quantity surveying tasks? How useful is this software in doing maybe your project management tasks? How useful is the software in doing your site management, site monitoring work? So that's an important point. And on the point of usefulness, there is also the aspect of ease of use of the software. There could be software, of course, that will help you or aligns very well with your business needs, but how easy is it to use? How long will a person take if they are new to using the software, possibly to be able to navigate even the project interactive screen, be able to see the various options that allow them to perform the tasks that they are supposed to perform. So it's important that this software is also easy to use. It could be very useful, but then that usefulness is also qualified by the fact that it should be easy to use for the people that will use it, or also easy to learn for the people that are new to it and want to learn so that they can start working. Okay, then of course, noticing that before you even started this transformation sort of a journey, there were existing tools that you are using, or even other software that maybe other departments or other business partners are using. So you should consider software that will integrate well with the existing tools, because there has to be a process where you are transitioning from using the existing tools to the new ones. And that integration is important. It allows for people to collaborate It is important because you need to have data exchange um, from one tool to another tool. So the new one should allow for, maybe you can import information or data from an older software to this one, be able to actually even do more manipulation, and it works well. So collaboration or integration with other software is an important aspect. Yeah, and especially when you are new with the tools, customer support, especially from the vendors of the softwares or the vendors of the tools or from the manufacturers of these tools, it's also important in terms of the considerations you should make. Because if you have challenges, for example, with the software, technical challenges, who do you go to as the first person? Would be the person that makes the softwares or the person that sold the software to you. So they should be able to offer customer support, a little bit of troubleshooting here and there if you have run into technical issues would be important. And then whether also those vendors or manufacturers of the software or the tools, they're offering training, because training is important as you start to learn or your people start to learn how to use these systems. Importantly also is the licensing options that are there. Is it software as a service where you're paying a subscription fee? Is it a one-off fee where you just pay a lump sum and you have access to the software, like more of a perpetual license that does not expire? Those options are important. Even as much as we have seen most solutions are moving into the subscription business model, but how friendly are also these subscriptions? Because sometimes you find that you are running maybe your business, and in terms of access to work, you may not always have work every month or work every week that needs to use this software, for example. So like if you are doing quantity takeoff, although the project may run for maybe 2 years, where there are other contract phases where there are tasks that you are doing during the contract phase. But if the software could be only for doing the pre-contract phase, then it means when you are done with the pre-contract phase, the software stops being useful. So in terms of licensing, are they going to still charge you even for the time when you are not using the software? Those are some of the considerations you should make. A more flexible licensing option is better, so that you pay for the license to be active when you need to use it. Also, you should look at things like compatibility with your existing hardware technologies that you have, or even the security of both the hardware and those software tools. Because remember, you are dealing with the client data, which sometimes or most of the times is a confidential information. So you do not want this information to leak out to unauthorized people who may use it for malicious uh, things. So security is important. The last point here is on the availability of a dedicated user community. This user community is other people who have purchased maybe the same tools, could be within your geographical region, in the continent, the African continent, for example, or within the country itself. People who, well, like, you see, when you go to, for example, shop online, I'm not sure whether it's me who does that, but you would find that people are, or customers are going to browse for the products. You look at the features of the products, you look at who is selling, how much are they selling the product for, and at the bottom, most of the times, there are those reviews. There is a 5-star review, there is a 4-star review, and people have written some sort of feedback on this product I purchased, it was delivered successfully, it is very useful, and all that. Those kinds of reviews, they're important to, it's more of a feedback on how, I would call it real life usage of the tools that you want to purchase. And it's a social proof of the fact that this solution or the maker of this solution has built a successful support and business around the tools. So it's important to have that dedicated user community. which could be also a place where if you run into challenges, you can go and ask questions. If, let's say, for example, the customer support of the tools that you purchased, maybe the manufacturer is not available because for some reasons could be overwhelmed by maybe the number of support tickets that have been raised by the customers and is trying to attend to each, and you have not been attended to. Maybe you could get support from enthusiastic users who, where, for example, I've seen with Archicad, or yeah, there is a sort of a Graphisoft user community where you can log in, you can post questions, you can post samples of your work, people can critique, people can even give you steps of being able to achieve the same thing more efficiently without wasting time. Like, that user community is important. That is where you can also go and learn. You can get support in terms of troubleshooting if you have technical challenges. Okay. I will end this with looking at, we've been focusing more on the business as a whole. So decisions that would be made by the business leaders. But businesses, as much as, okay, the management is very important, but also the employees are also a very important component of the business. So how do they also align themselves with a long-term view of how technology is going to transform the way people are working? So where you would find maybe, yeah, how do you align yourself as an individual consultant, as an employee, as a professional, with the long-term vision of um, staying abreast with transformations in the businesses? And I do not really want to say with the trends, because we should not be blindly following the trends. But how do you make sure that you are staying in sync with what is happening in the industry, especially in the impacts that information technology and information and communication technology has on the work that you are doing? Because we are seeing that the impact as okay, the growth or advancement of information technology is a fast one. So and the faster it moves, it means the challenges that it brings, or the impact that it has on our construction businesses is also, or there are changes that come every now and then. So how do we align ourselves with that? One thing is, before you even apply to a company to start working for them, you should vet these companies. Go to their website, check what is the mission, what is the vision of this company, what are their core values. Do these core values align with my long-term development in terms of being able to integrate the latest or the best tech tools, the ones that help me work or make my work easier? Do their values align with that long-term goal that I have? That should be the first thing that you ask yourself, so that when you are applying, you're applying to companies that are the best fit for you. You'll not have a challenge in terms of learning how to use the tools, because maybe, for example, you're applying to companies that this way of working that I want to be the one that I use in work or in my professional work is actually the one that this company has adopted. So it becomes easy for you to fit into the culture of that company, into the work processes of that company. The other thing would be to cultivate continuous lifelong learning. This is an approach where you are open. You do not see yourself, as much as you are an expert in the technical aspect of the work that we'll be doing, but you are not, okay, I would put it this way, that we maintain a beginner mindset. We are experts, yes, but we maintain a beginner mindset in everything that we are doing, appreciating the fact that we do not have a monopoly of knowledge or monopoly of skills. Other people can come up with better ways of doing things, and we need to allow ourselves to unlearn maybe past things that we were doing and learn these new things that have been brought into the business. So it's a way of ensuring that you can quickly adapt to dynamic situations, or quickly adapt to changing project situations or business situations, so that you are sure that whatever changes come, whatever challenges come, whatever new things that you are required to learn, your mind is always open to those new challenges, and there is a positive progress on that side. The thing is, if you're already in a company where, for example, you could be unsatisfied, you could not be, maybe you're not satisfied with the existing workflows of the business, and you have seen or you have learned elsewhere that there are these better ways that you can use to improve the workflows. Then do what I'm calling self-initiate these tasks, or self-initiate these things. So if there is a better way of doing things and you are able to, for example, even get access to a certain software, you can start delivering work using these tools. And at the end, if you work faster or you are able to be more useful while you are using these tools, then you can use that to convince your boss that I have found a better way of doing this thing. Can we possibly even adapt it to help streamline the work that we are doing in the business? That would be a good way of influencing change within the businesses that you are working for. Last thing is I'm saying that you should experiment. Experiment meaning that there are a lot of tools out there. There are a lot of technologies. There are a lot of softwares. There are a lot of other things that you can learn to improve your work. Because as we say, the digital transformation, said it's tech tools helping us to improve our businesses and to improve even the cultural aspects of the organization, the way we collaborate, the way we share information and all that. So you should be open to experimenting with the other tools and software so that you are able to find what is the best fit for you as an individual. And I'm saying here that you actually don't need permission. You don't need anyone's permission to experiment. You only need your spare time after work to go check. I think you have been guided that you can learn a lot of things on YouTube, on Udemy, on LinkedIn Learning, on even people's website who possibly could be sharing educational materials. So the internet has opened a lot of, I would say, opportunities for us to be able to access information and learn actually anything that we want to learn. So experiment as much as possible so that you can get your best fit tool for the work that you are trying to do. It is important that there is that fit between the characteristics of the work that you are doing, that is the task themselves, with the capabilities of these technologies or the tools that will be brought into your business. I think that's more of what I had prepared for you, and I'll be open to questions if there are any questions. And that marks the end of my presentation. Here's a little bit about myself. I think it had been uh, presented before I started talking. But when this is shared, you will get links to my websites, my email address, and mobile number if you want to extend this conversation past the webinar. Thank you.